Hey guys, good evening. How we doing? Good, man. Glad to be here. Grateful to be here. I appreciate you guys investing your evening with me. I know you could be probably anywhere else. So I appreciate you taking the time to sit down and learn something, and I'm going to make it worth your while, or I'm going to try. So my name is Michael Smoke, and I feel like I'm at an age where I'm not so old that you can't relate to me at all, but I'm young enough that I was in college like during COVID when everything hit the fan, maybe when some of you were starting school. So my goal is simple. By the end of this conversation, and I want it to be just that, I want it to be a conversation. I want you to ask questions. I want you to be curious. Otherwise, this is all for nothing. By the end of this conversation, I want you to have a few things that you can take with you into your professional lives, your personal lives, to ultimately answer the big question at some point you're going to have to figure out your strategy to, which is how are you going to stand out? I'm going to go ahead and take a guess that everyone, when you graduate, you want to get a job? Yeah? You want to make a good living? You want to make a lot of money? You want to do well? You want to be financially secure? Great, me too. Don't we all? So this is a crash course on everything that I basically wish I knew when I was 22, that though I don't have it all figured out, I feel like I have a decent idea of where I'm headed now at 27, and I'm going to share that with you now. So, clicker, functional. Do I point at the screen or point at the projector? I'm going to guess the projector. Technology's hard sometimes. Here's what we're going to be covering at a high level. I'm going to spend as little time as I can on the top part there, my story, but I feel like though, since most of you have no idea who I am, it's probably relevant to give you a little bit of background on how I got here. The real reason you came here, actionable tips to stand out and get a great job. You 10.0, which is an exercise I do with my coaching clients and something that you guys can take home with you this evening and work on and get an idea for. Aphorisms to accelerate your life. If you don't know what an aphorism is, don't go Googling. It's okay. You'll learn in a few minutes. And then I'll close with you guys for questions, booze. You want to throw a tomato at me, that's fine too. Whatever you have for me, I'm happy to take it. Before we get into anything, if there's one thing, if you literally shut your ears off in the next 10 seconds, 20 seconds, let this be the one thing you take home. Everything in life is sales. Everything you do. Robert Louis Stevenson said it best. Everybody lives by selling something, albeit whether they know it or not. How many of you in here are finance majors? Accounting? No accounting. Good choice. Marketing? Yeah. General business, management? Congratulations, you're all in sales. It doesn't matter. You're all in sales. And some of you are probably asking me, what the hell does he mean by that? What is he talking about? Well, I'll give you a few examples. Obviously, we have the first, though I'm a little bit biased, the first example, the best corporate job I think you can have is sales itself. Of course, everybody that is in sales makes a living by selling something. I think sales is incredible because it's all the upsides of entrepreneurship with none of the risk. Uncapped income, the ability to make more money than attorneys, doctors, surgeons, the president even if you do well, with none of the downside of entrepreneurship, which I have the privilege of being exposed to now as a business owner, which is catastrophic failure, because 95% of businesses fail within the first 5 years. But if you're not going into sales and you don't have to make an incredible, fulfilled, promising living, there are other things that you need to know how to sell for in your everyday life. How many of you are within a year of graduating or maybe getting your first internship? I would guess some of you, right? At some point you're going to graduate, you're going to have to get a job. You're going to be in an interview process with 2, 3, 4, 5 other candidates that are as qualified, if not more qualified than you. So how are you going to get the job? You're going to sell them. You're going to sell them on you, that you are the guy or the gal that can fit the bill, fill the role, and earn the money. So that is a pure form of sales. And then you get to the job and you start crushing it. You start killing it. You start doing everything in the roles and responsibilities and then some. But then you go, wait, I'm doing everything that was asked of me and then some. I need to get paid for the end, then some. And that's where we get into performance reviews, compensation discussions. These are things that you need to set in place for yourself a few years into your career. And you're going to have to know how to sell. You can't walk in and go, I'd like a $30,000 raise. Let me know what you think, and then walk out. You got to have a plan. You got to build a business case. 2 years into my corporate job at Milner Technologies, which I'll get into in just a minute, I made a crazy ask. I wanted a $35,000 base salary raise and a 15% increase in my commission. I had some unique leverages, but the first thing I did was not go in and make that ask. I went in there, I built a small deck showing my ROI as an employee, hard numbers, facts, and figures that you can't argue with. And then I made my ask, and they gave it to me because I sold them. So you're going to have to learn these sales skills in some capacity in your everyday life, in your corporate job. But it goes beyond corporate America. Do any of you sitting in this room know each other outside of this room? Yeah? Some of you talk to each other, y'all hang out. How did you become friends? Fraternity. So you sold each other on the fact that you weren't freaks. Right? That's what Rush is all about. They need to know you're not weird so they can have you in the fraternity. That's sales. You're selling yourself. You gotta let people know you're normal. I can hang out. I make your life a little better. Maybe I'm funny. I'm a little weird looking, but I have a good personality. It's all sales. And then there's a purest form. You guys are probably all going through this right now. Dating is the most primal form of sales, because there's a lot of buyers and there's a lot of sellers. So you gotta know these skills if you want to get where you want to be, because you're gonna spend a lot of time with that customer. So everything that you do in this life is sales. All right. I'm more of a picture guy than a word guy. I'm not going to PowerPoint you to death. And we're going to start at present day with my life and work backwards from there. Sound good? Cool. So today I am a full-time content creator, coach, and podcaster. In March of 2023, I hit a boiling point. I'm very passionate about health and fitness. I think that it's an incredible way to take ownership of your life is by taking control of your health, because when everything else hits the fan, the one thing I can control is my body, what I put in my mouth, and what I do with my physical activity. And so I'm very strongly passionate about that, and I'm not going to beat that over your head, but it is important. And so I created a page in March of 2023 talking about my journey from going from fat to fit, some of the mindsets and perspectives I'd learned along the way, and what journeys like that, sticking to something for an extraordinary period of time, can teach you about yourself. And it's blown up beyond my wildest dreams, and I'm grateful to have the opportunity. But I've also been fortunate to have some really cool people on my podcast. It's recently got into the national charts, so it's ranked in the country in health and fitness in terms of doing the thing you see right there in my bio. The mission will never change, sharing easily implementable ways to improve your life. Albeit it's a little bit bigger now than it used to be, and I truly can't believe I get to do this. Can't believe I get to do this. This is incredible. But I've also had the opportunity to do some fun physical challenges too. In November of 2022, I ran my first marathon. That's 26.2 miles in just under 3 hours and 50 minutes. That's me hugging my pops at the end, at the finish line there. It's my best friend. The very next year, I made the wise, maybe, decision to run a 50-kilometer, 31-mile trail ultramarathon. Still the hardest thing I've ever done, and for some reason, I'm doing the exact same race in 10 weeks. I don't learn. And this year, July of 2024, I took a 620-mile to a 508-mile so I could participate in what you see there, which is the Guinness World Record attempt for the fastest ever 100 by 1 mile relay. Me and 99 other badass people got together. We all ran 1 mile, albeit pretty quick, and passed the baton 100 times. And I'm proud to say, as of 2 weeks ago, we are now officially Guinness World Record holders for the fastest ever relay race. Pretty cool. 8 hours and 26 minutes, 5:04 pace, subtle flex. Before that, I did a stint in corporate America, just like a lot of you are going to do. I was in outside sales for 3.5 years, working for a fantastic company called Milner Technologies, selling IT and cybersecurity services, protecting businesses' critical assets. Prior to that, what got me that job is what I think one of the best decisions I've ever made, which is actively what you guys are doing right now. It was finding the sales major, the sales program, and the sales club at Kennesaw State and getting as involved and engaged as I possibly could. Truthfully, I had no business being in this job after I graduated college, but I was able to sell them. I was able to show experience that I learned through school, that you guys are getting being in this room right now, to set me up at a job that allowed me to make what I thought at the time was an insane amount of money for someone my age. I felt like I was robbing them, and I was getting to do cool things in the room during cyber attacks with CEOs, thinking, how the hell did I get here? The point is, that's one of the best decisions I ever made, was learning sales skills in that program. And you guys are going to do the same thing if you stay engaged in the club. Prior to all of that, 8.5 years ago, I hit my rock bottom, if you will. And it was that picture on the left. And I know what you're thinking. Why is this guy showing shirtless photos of himself on a presentation about business? Trust me, it's way more uncomfortable for me than it is for you. That picture on the left was the moment I decided I was done living a life of being average or below average at best. I was drinking too much. I was partying. 2.9 GPA. Not bad, not good. Just average at everything I did. And it was miserable. I was living an unconscious life and I was tired of it. And so I decided to, sorry professor, get my shit together and take control of my physical health. And that journey, the reason I share all of this with you, because some of you are probably thinking, why is he talking about marathons and ultramarathons? Is it because he has a captive audience to brag to? Yeah, maybe a little bit. But the real reason, I'm joking, the real reason is that the journey of building my body and taking control of my health, making decisions, doing things that frighten me a little bit, is that it gave me the feeling, the thing that I think a lot of people are lacking, but I believe is the root of all success. Whether you want to be corporate, you want to be an entrepreneur, maybe some of y'all have big business ideas, big dreams. You can't do any of it without confidence and self-belief. That's it. That's the foundation. But everybody says that. Oh, be confident. What's your name? Tarun? Tarun, man, I'm Michael. Be confident. Believe in yourself. Okay, what? Like, that's not helpful. What do you mean? Everybody says be confident, but nobody knows or nobody talks about how to build confidence, because confidence without evidence is delusion. It's not real. You need things. You need proof, which brings me to my first aphorism, one of my favorites of all time. Would you do me a favor? Would you read that loud and proud so I can take a sip of water?
You don't become confident by shouting affirmations in the mirror, but by having a stack of undeniable proof that you are who you say you are. Outwork yourself doubt.
Nice. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Dinner's on me. Bet y'all didn't know there was free money involved. Now you're going to want to raise your hands. Thank you for doing that. I know it's uncomfortable to get called on. You don't become confident by shouting affirmations in the mirror, but by having a stack of undeniable proof that you are who you say you are. Some of you have probably seen that in your Instagram feeds. That's from Alex Hormozy, and it's an incredible quote. How do you do that? What does that mean? Nobody can tell me I'm not a runner. I ran. I've done the races. I have the proof. Nobody can tell me I'm not a content creator. I'm not a coach. I do it every day. The evidence outweighs the self-doubt. So if you want to be confident, you have to stack proof, and you start with the small stuff. You keep promises to yourself. You sign agreements with yourself and don't break them. If you say you're going to wake up at 6 a.m. and go to the gym before class, go. If you say you're going to make your bed every day, make the damn bed. Because whether you realize it or not, it's like James Clear says in his book, Atomic Habits, every action you take is casting a vote for the person you wish to become, whether you realize it or not, no matter how big or how small. So cast the right votes. Does anybody know who Jesse Itzler is? Anybody heard of Jesse Itzler? I'm sure the ladies have heard of Sarah Blakely, CEO of Spanx. She's a billionaire based in Atlanta. That's her husband, which feels embarrassing to compare him like that because he's such a big deal. He's a big Atlanta entrepreneur. But Jesse Itzler is a prominent Atlanta figure. He does a lot of public speaking engagements, and I've seen him talk a bit. I saw him talk recently at a festival called Running Man, and he's a big believer in this. It's called a misogi, and it's a Japanese principle or practice of purification through extreme challenge. And so every year, Jesse takes on a misogi. And I heard about this for the first time in 2022, and it changed my life. And that's why I share the marathon, the ultra marathon, the 5-minute mile. Those are all things that when I signed up for them, decided I wanted to do them, kind of scared the hell out of me. I had never run more than 5 miles when I signed up for my first marathon, and I thought, how am I going to do this? And then I did it. And I will never forget the moment I crossed that finish line, I thought to myself immediately, I can do anything if I put the work in. So I want you guys to know it's not always, if you want to be a better corporate employee, you don't have to do corporate things. You need to have confidence in yourself. And if you build confidence through building your physique, taking control of your health, signing up for things that scare the hell out of you, it just bleeds organically into other facets of your life. It doesn't matter where you get it from. You can borrow it at any point of your life whenever you need it. But you have to stack the evidence and you have to stack the proof. Now, why does this matter? Because the foundation of the life you want is built on relentless self-belief. Anybody know who said that? I made it up. Sounds good though, right? Sounds like somebody smart said it. Now, enough of the woo-woo, rah-rah stuff, and that's probably not why most of you are here. I'm actually going to get into the tips for what will actually separate you from the pack, why you're here. You're here to graduate and get a good job, a job you enjoy, a job that fulfills you, a job that pays really, really well, above average preferably. And so these are the things that if you do them, I learned these from people, mentors, a whole lot smarter than me. If you just do these things, you are going to be in better rooms, better interviews, better opportunities, making better money, doing bigger, better things. I feel like this is obvious, but I have to mention it. Like, get good grades, have a good GPA. Don't be rocking a 2.9. Have something you're proud to put on the resume, 3.5 or above. You got to remember this. When an employer is interviewing you, they're not looking for the GPA. They're not looking for the thing itself. They're looking for the characteristic that you exude by doing the thing, right? So a 3.8 GPA tells them I can do what's asked of me and maybe a little bit more. But getting involved, doing what you're doing now, this is incredibly important. You guys, to my knowledge, I don't know how much she paid you or if she's grading you on this, but you don't have to be here. You're here because you want to be, because you want to develop, because you want to get better. These are things that go on your resume. Active member of the sales club was absolutely on my resume because that characteristic shows an employer, hey, I'm willing to do above and beyond of what's asked of me. I don't just show up and work. I'll stay late if I have to. I'll get the deliverable out. I'll do the thing you need of me because when you're a student, you don't have the job. You don't have the track record of employment. So you need to build your resume through extracurriculars with guys like Luke and Christian and this club. So get involved, get engaged, and talk to people. Talk to each other. I know some of you are introverts. I love you. Get over it. Meet one new person a day. That's 365 new people a year. I have been in so many rooms, had so many opportunities just because I went up and said hi to somebody, or somebody came up and said hi to me, that I never would have had the chance to. Incredible things I never would have thought possible if I hadn't just done the uncomfortable thing. Typically, they say the life you want is on the other side of a few hard, uncomfortable conversations, either with yourself or with others. Have the hard conversations. Walk up to the stranger and say what's up. Sell them on not being weird. Be their friend. This stuff is not difficult. It's very, very simple. All right, who wants to take a guess at what I mean by this? Just own the room. Anybody? Show of hands.
Confidence and charisma?
That's a really good guess. That's a really good guess. And dinner's on me. Will you pass that back to her? Own the room. Confidence and charisma. That is well said, and it's a trait. It's a thing. There's a thing in the corporate world that there are books about, podcasts about. People coach others on this. I know Professor Palpont knows about this, but it's not talked about enough in schools, and it's not explicitly taught often. And it's called executive presence. Executive presence. That's the ChatGPT definition. I'll let you guys read that if you want. Basically, it's the way you carry yourself that allows you to be perceived as magnetic, that draws people to you. How do you move through a room? How do you handle pressure, hard situations? Do you step up or do you step back? These are traits. These are soft skills that you can develop. I don't believe they're inherent. I think that's crap. I think it's a callus that you build. I mean, fun fact, you know what the top 2 fears are for people in the world? What number 1 is? Public speaking. You know what number 2 is? Death. What? People are more scared to get in front of a crowd and talk than they are to die. That's wild. But if you just do it more, it gets easier. So it's all about building the callus. So you want to get better at executive presence, you walk up to the VP of sales at the next career fair or at Accenture, and you talk to them, you introduce yourself, you look them in the eye, you smile, you ask them questions. That's executive presence, and you can develop it. Look the part. Maybe also relatively obvious, but also not. There are a couple things that set you apart more than others. If you're going to go to a career fair, don't show up looking like me, okay? I work for myself now, I don't have to impress you, so I'm wearing what makes me comfortable. But when I was in college and I knew an employer was coming, minimum, guys, business casual, like he's dressed right here, golf polo, tuck it in, decent shoes. If you want to go business professional, like Luke here, throw on a blazer. Ladies, I don't know, whatever you think makes you business professional or business casual. I'm not an expert on that. But look the part, look nice. You'd be surprised how many recruiters and VPs I've talked to that will interview someone y'all's age and they just show up to a corporate interview in a t-shirt. It's like the bar has never been lower. It's never been lower. So just show up and look the part. The next thing you can do is go to Staples or Office Depot and spend $13.89, because that's what I paid on this last week, and buy a Padfolio. It is so simple, it is so helpful, it is so effective. It comes with a beautiful little sheet of paper so you can take notes on the employer, and then before you leave, you crush the conversation and they're so impressed with you and they go, oh, give me your email, we'll connect and I'll get your resume. You say, oh, no problem. I got a copy right here. That shows initiative. It shows you're ready to take the next step. And it's a little thing you can do to make you stand out. Oh, and it holds your student business card, which is that third thing that you guys are probably cross-eyed saying, what the hell is he talking about? A student business card. If it sounds corny, just stick with me because this is the best piece of advice I ever got, and I so wish I could take credit for it. Student business card, I got this from my professor, Brent McCulloch at Kennesaw State University. Incredible guy, wonderful mentor to me. Very simple. Georgia State logo on the front, your first and last name, your major, expected grad date, contact information, or LinkedIn on the QR code. I know that might sound crazy to some of you. I promise you, you don't want to take it from me? Fine. Take it from this kid that DM'd me last week. He's in college. And I'll read it to you. He said, just want to let you know that I used your idea you gave in one of your videos to use a student card for career fairs and it absolutely killed. You're the man. So, that's a kid that went out and used this in a career fair. And whether they think it's hokey or weird or they think it's freaking badass, they won't forget it. Every time I've ever done that, it has been called back to in the interview process because nobody's doing that. It's all about standing out. This talk is all about how do you stand out. And everybody's going to show up, maybe looking halfway decent, maybe even give them a resume, but nobody's going to give them a student contact card. And some of you are thinking, that sounds expensive. Nope, $14.99 for 250 of them at Staples. You're welcome. I did my homework. Now this is the last one. Saving the best for last because I think it is the most important. It is the reason I'm in this room talking to you guys. And it is something that I think is so frequently overlooked. becoming a master communicator. How many of you are confident to the degree that you could get up right now and give me a 60-second elevator pitch, clean and concise on who you are, what you do, and why I should hire you? That's good. Don't worry, I'm not going to call on you, but that's good. That's good. Good. That's 3 or 4 people. If you can master your communication skills, you could literally be a professional BSer and get so far in life. I know so many people that I swear their IQ is room temperature and they are millionaires because when it comes time, they can turn it on and they can tell a story. And that's what it's all about. I was on the phone with a friend of mine a while back and casually in conversation, this guy's super successful, he's a VP of sales at a Fortune 5 company, and he just casually drops this on me. He was like, Michael, remember, when you're given a presentation, clarity and conviction is perceived by those who hear it as competence and confidence. And I went, Drew, you can't just casually drop the hardest bar I've ever heard and not just gloss over that. Let's say that again. Clarity and conviction is perceived by those who hear it as competence and confidence. When you speak clearly and people believe what you're saying because you believe it and they can feel that, they default to you as the smart one in the room and the confident one in the room. Executive presence, right? It's all about how you deliver things. Think of every politician. You might not agree with them. A lot of them are really incredible speakers. Some of them are full of it, but they're really good at talking about it. So communication skills are an incredibly simple, not easy, but simple way to put yourself forward in life. And I'm not going to do a masterclass on this, but it's so important. I'm going to give you a quick slide to tell you how you can actually improve this. Because when it comes time between you and candidate B in the interview process and all your skills are equal, everything is equal about you except for your communication skills, the better storyteller is the guy or gal that's going to get the job 10 times out of 10. So master the art of telling your story. This is a fun fact. Assuming a lot of you want to be rich, maybe even some of you want to be millionaires. I do. 85% of millionaires in a recent survey attributed their success solely to their ability to communicate a message. Why? Because if you can communicate effectively, you can get people to trust you. You get people to trust you, you can get people to buy from you. And that's how millionaires are made, right? Building trust, communicating a message effectively. One of my favorite quotes here from Jim Rohn, effective communication is 20% what you know and 80% how you feel about what you know. I'm talking about the same stuff in my content that a lot of other fitness content creators are talking about. How to build muscle, how to burn body fat, how to eat right, how to hit your protein goal, calories, all those things. The difference is in the delivery. There are plenty of people out there smarter than me, but they can't get the leverage because they can't get the message across effectively. That's how important this stuff is. It is everything. Your ability to tell your story is the indicator of your success. So these are the 4 components that I think make a great communicator. Pitch or inflection, it's kind of 2. Body language, vernacular, filler words or killer words. Pitch and inflection, very simple. If I want to pique curiosity, I want you to think about what I'm saying, I might go up slightly in my pitch. I want you to think about it. Maybe it's more of a question. But if I want to make a statement, I'm going to look you in the eye and say something really serious like this because I want to make a point. So pitch and inflection matters. It is truly sometimes how you say it, not necessarily what you say. Who wants to take a guess? It's another fun one for dinner on me. Who wants to take a guess? What percentage, roughly, would you say of communication is nonverbal in our body language? How much?
Like 90%.
That's a good guess. A little too much. 80? No, not quite. It's 55%. 55% of your communication is nonverbal. So I'll give you guys an example. And hey, I can't give them to you both. He was first, so I got to give them to him. Here you go, brother. Dinner's on me. So what do I mean by this? I'll give you an example. All right, I'm going to talk about the 4 components that make a great communicator. And it's going to be really valuable and really great. No, you're not going to listen to me. It's crap, right? It's how I'm saying it. It's the fact that my chest is out, my shoulders are back. I'm looking you in the eyes. It's the way I'm moving my hands. They're not in my pockets. My shoulders aren't rolled forward. Never walk up to a freaking potential employer like this. Hey, how are you? Good to meet you. That's just not going to go well. They're going to forget you ever existed very quickly and try to get you off the booth so they can talk to the next person. So your body language is huge, but it's very intentional. It takes practice. Like you got to remember when you're doing, maybe you guys will do sales call role plays, interview role plays. Practice how you're sitting in the chair in an interview. Don't slouch. Put your arms, shoulders back. Look them in the eye, chin high. Those little things matter. Whether you realize it or not, we are subconsciously always judging people. It's just in our nature. You can't help it. So master that. Vernacular. If you're going to talk to the VP of sales about a sales job, know the speak. Don't walk up babbling like a fool. Say, hey, well, what are my KPIs? What CRMs do you use? What kind of prospecting tools do I have? These are all things that if you speak the speak of sales, they're going to know, right? Those are industry-specific terms. If you're interviewing at an accounting firm, you're going to use accounting terms to show you have a little bit of chops, right? You know what you're talking about. You don't have to be an expert. You don't have to be fluent, but know just a little bit, because remember, the bar has never been lower. You're doing so much right now just by listening to someone talking about vernacular. So keep that in mind. Filler words or killer words? Can anyone tell me what the main filler words are? Yeah. You got any more? Yeah, that's a good one. Oh man, yep. Filler words are killer words. All right, we got one card here left. I got to save it for a good question. Would you pass that back to him right there? Thanks for answering, man. Filler words or killer words? Like, you know, things like that. That's a phrase, but it's a filler phrase. That's all fluff. You don't need any of that in a conversation or presentation. Now, to a degree, it will make you somewhat human. You don't need to be a robot. But subconsciously, people perceive you as more competent and a more engaged speaker when you don't use them. If I came up here and I was saying, hey guys, I'm Michael, and today I'm going to be talking to you about like how to change your life and stuff, things like that. Talk about what I did, and it's boring. I take forever to get to the point. I lose you. Think of anyone who makes a living doing TED Talks, public speaking. I think of like pastors and preachers at churches. I think of Tony Robbins. These people that live on a stage, they don't use filler words. And you don't even realize it. It's subconscious the way we perceive it. But it is so powerful. If you can cut them out of your vocabulary, or at least get as close as you can to eliminating them, we all trip up every now and then. I'm not perfect by any means. Then you can become a much more proficient communicator. I don't know if professor does this to you, but in my sales program, my professor had a ticker like they have at Costco to keep count of people. And every sales role play we did, he would tick every filler word. He would say, oh, hey, great job. Did you know you said like 137 times in 3 minutes? And I would go, oh, geez, no, I didn't know that. And then it just sticks out to you like a sore thumb. So how do you guys do this? Obviously, talk more, have more conversations, do role plays, do interview role plays. We did that all the time in college, thousands of them. Or you can do what I do. I created a social media account and put it on the internet and blasted it into the ether. But if you want to, you can just record yourself. Pick a topic, something you like, something that's easy for you to converse about, and just record yourself talking about it. No script, maybe a little talk track if you want, but no script. And then watch it back like game film, like an athlete. You have to see where you're at to know where you need to go. So make sure you're tracking and keeping track of those words, and once you start to call them out, they'll get easier to eliminate. All right. Yeah, absolutely.
When you say record yourself talking about that,
yeah.
Like I have done that and I've tried, but there's been times like, you know, when you're looking at yourself
Mm-hmm.
on the screen talking, how do you get over that barrier of like looking at yourself?
Dude, you're talking to a guy that talks into his front camera like a Snapchat for a career, man. It was super weird at first. That's the only way to get over it. You do it 100 times. I wish there were an easy answer. I know it's strange. It sounds like what you're asking really is, how do I get over the weirdness of looking at myself, like recording myself, right?
When nobody's listening.
When nobody's listening. Yeah, it's a callus. It's just like working out. You do it, it gets easier. But you got to just put the reps in. I wish there was a magic pill, but there isn't. Does that help?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Yeah, man. So this is the exercise portion. We were going to do this together, but for the sake of time and not keeping you here until 11, well, we're not. So this is what I take all of my coaching clients through. I work with people in the mindset, personal development, and fitness space. And I have this phrase, you 10.0. I'm going to assume a lot of you guys have goals, maybe big goals, maybe things you want to accomplish by the time you graduate, by the time you're 30. Maybe it involves business, relationships, personal, financial. When was the last time you sat down, wrote them down, got specific? A lot of people don't do that. So that's the point of this exercise. A goal without a plan is just a wish, another aphorism I absolutely love. If it is not real, if there is not a plan tied to it, how the hell are you going to get there? You have to make it real, and some of you are cringing right now because of the bullet that just came up, because I sound like every other business professor. There's a reason that SMART goals are cliche. It's because they work. Okay? They work, and they work well. So does anyone you say this with me? SMART, what's the acronym? Specific, measurable, actionable, depending on what it's like relatable or relevant, and time-bound. Yeah, exactly. The point of that is it specifies the goal. So let's use fitness as an example. I want to lose 50 pounds. Okay, that's not very specific. I want to lose 50 pounds to improve my health, lower my blood pressure, and reduce my risk of early disease. That's specific. Okay, I want to do that. How are you going to do that? I don't know. That's not very measurable. I'm going to walk. I'm going to walk an hour a day. I'm going to go to the gym 3 times a week. I'm going to track my protein and calorie intake. I'm going to sleep 8 hours a night. Now we've got things we can measure. We've got things we can improve over time. Actionable. Are you able to do it? If you want to walk 10,000 steps a day, but you have a broken leg, you may have to reevaluate. Can you take action? Do you have the facilities to do the thing? Relevant. Is it relevant to you, right? If I want to get healthier and I'm 100 or 50 pounds overweight, losing 50 pounds is probably relevant. But if I'm a marathoner who's 120 pounds, losing 50 pounds is probably not relevant. So is the goal relevant to your greater purpose? Time bound. This is the big one. If you skip the other ones, make your goals time bound. It's why I love signing up for races. I know if I don't have it together on that day, I'm in trouble and I'm going to be in a lot of pain. So we know as humans we operate well on deadlines. It's psychologically backed. It's why professors give you due dates. We are not good with negative outcomes and negative consequences. And the negative consequence of a due date that you miss is a big fat 0. So make your goals time bound and then get uncomfortably specific. I say uncomfortable in the way that I mean you're going to have to conceptualize this like you never have. Ask yourself what, why, and how questions. And remember, I'm not making this stuff up. This is for millionaires, mentors, people a whole lot smarter than me. What does the person you want to become operate as? A person who lost 50 pounds and has $1 million in the bank. What do they do on a day-to-day basis? How do they speak to themselves? How do they treat others? Why are they doing what they're doing? You write all of these things down. You get uncomfortably specific because, does anybody want to take a guess for the last gift card of, as a percentage, how much more likely are you to achieve your goals if you simply write them on a piece of paper specifically? That was the first hand.
50%.
Good guess. 41%. 41% more likely, pass that back, 41%, thank you, Professor. 41% more likely if you literally just put the goal on a piece of paper. This stuff is not hard. I like those odds. I'm not a betting man, but I like those odds. So write your goals down and get uncomfortably specific. And then, you know where you want to go. You have something to aim at. Let it go. Now you become relentless about focusing on your systems. James Clear in his book Atomic Habits again says, we don't rise to the level of our goals, we fall to the level of our systems. So if I have the goal to lose 50 pounds and get healthier, but I'm going to the gym every other week, I'm eating like a garbage can, I'm sleeping 4 hours a night, and I'm not walking or leaving the house, my systems suck. But if I'm consistently going to the gym, I'm consistently sleeping, I'm eating real food, I'm working out, my systems are good. And the goal, the achievement of the goal is an organic side effect or byproduct of having relentlessly good systems. So if you want better grades, look at your systems. If you're not happy with your outputs, look at your inputs. It's that simple. It really is that simple. If you want something, become relentless about building a system that you know is guaranteed to get you to the goal. So I have my goals that I set every year. I just look at them, I write them in my journal, and then I just become relentless about what do I need to do to get there. Because I know if I adhere to that for 12 months, 6 months, 3 months, whatever the frame is, whatever my time-bound goal is, the side effect is the achievement of the goal. And then, this is the hard one for people, and it's the reason we do this exercise. Act as if you already have it. It's the reason we do You 10.0. You just described the person you want to be. And I would guarantee if you guys are here, you're serious about your self-development, you're serious about getting better, you're not who, how, or where you want to be right now. And that's fine. You're college students. You shouldn't be. I'm nowhere near. I don't know what the hell I'm doing, but I'm doing my best. So you just described exactly who it is you want to be in this exercise. Be it. Dr. Joe Dispenza has a great quote that I love that says, your personality creates your personal reality. How profound. Your personality creates your personal reality. If you're not happy with where you're at, with your grades, with your finances, with your job, with your track record, change your thoughts, actions, and feelings. Change your inputs, and your reality will literally change in front of you. I hate to say this, but it is that simple sometimes. It truly is. Now, this is what I'll close and leave you guys with. I'm a big aphorisms guy. I said that earlier. Definition of an aphorism, simply put, is a punchy, short quote that often has a greater, broader meaning for life. I have these written on my bathroom mirror, so I see them when I wake up every morning. They're not necessarily relevant to everything I just shared with you, but they're good. So I hope that, at the time in my life when I heard them, they struck me. Sometimes it's where you are and how you're doing that these are significant, so they might not be. What's up, brother?
I just want to say I'm happy to hear that you write on your mirror too.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. Everybody should do that. Put your goals in a place where you can see them every day. Yes, ma'am.
How do you do that without damaging the mirror, though?
Expo markers and a lot of Windex.
So that's in the dorms. I don't need to get charged.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, I'm not in a dorm, so that's the upside. But a dry erase marker should serve you well. So a few aphorisms to accelerate your life, things that I see and think every day that when I heard them, they struck me. This one's first, and it's one of the most simple on the list, but the first time I heard it, it was like a duh moment. One of my professors said, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Whoa. For me, I was in a time in my life when I was a victim of my circumstances. I was unhappy at a lot of things that were happening. I had a lot of things that I was doing that felt like obligations. But the reality is my perspective was totally flawed. So for example, at the time, my fitness, getting my health in check, was something I felt like I had to do. I have to go to the gym. I have to eat this meal. No, my perspective was just trash. I don't have to. I get to. I have an able body. I have something that most people would kill for that don't have it. I have the opportunity to build a body I'm proud of, to do incredible things with. I get to go to the gym. I get to take care of myself. So in all the hardship I've been through in my life, which as I get a little older in the last few months, I've been through some really challenging stuff with family, loved ones. Oftentimes you can really change your emotional state on a situation if you just view it from a different vantage point. So that's why that's first on the list for me. And I know I said I'm a fitness content creator and I'm not here to teach you how to get abs or build muscle, but take it from a guy who's been in it, who has people that he loves more than anything in this world experiencing it right now. Everybody has a lot of problems until they have a health problem, and then they have one problem. Everything stops. Now, some of y'all are going through tough things. Maybe you have family members who are sick. Maybe you've seen family members pass. You know what it's like. Everybody's got all these things going on in their life, and then your mom gets sick, your dad gets sick, and everything falls away. Nothing matters. And we're living in a world now where people in their 60s and 70s are being diagnosed with diseases because of their decisions in their 20s, 30s, and 40s. So right now, I'm not telling you to be a freak. You don't have to go out and run ultra marathons like me and be obsessed and be a fanatic and make a TikTok. Take care of yourself. Treat your fitness as a part of your hygiene, like brushing your teeth or showering. It's just something you do. Walk, eat real food, manage your stress, build meaningful relationships, sleep enough, drink water, hit the weights a few times a week. Easy things. Massive dividends over an extraordinary period of time, which brings me to the next and one of the final quotes. You want to do something extraordinary in this life? You want to build extraordinary wealth? You want to build a social media following of over 1 million people? You want to have the physique of your dreams? It's not magic. It is 90% of success being boiled down to doing the obvious thing for an extraordinary period of time without convincing yourself you're smarter than you are. You want to build a physique that everyone asks you, how did you do that? I went to the gym for 9 years, and I went when I didn't want to. That's the secret. You want to put $1 million in the bank? I saved a few $100 every month for 12 years, 15 years. It's the obvious thing. It's the work we all know we should be doing, but so many of us aren't. So if you want to have extraordinary results, be willing to do obvious, common things for an extraordinary period of time. Because the fact of the matter is, guys, people don't have what they want a lot of times is because they just quit too early. They just give up because they want these big things, but the time horizons on their goals are too short relative to what they want to do. So just keep showing up and keep doing the work, which is another favorite of mine and a nice segue into this quote. The magic you're looking for is in the work you're avoiding. A couple months ago, I was in a bit of a rut with my business, and we hit a low. And I'm in my second now full year of entrepreneurship, and it's scary. It's uncertain. Every dollar I make or don't make is entirely on me, which is a blessing and a curse at times. And I had to have a really uncomfortable conversation with myself. There were things I just simply wasn't doing. I was lazy. I was hitting snooze. I was avoiding the things with my clients I needed to be doing. Simple stuff. And once I stopped avoiding the work and I leaned into it, shocker, 45 days later, I hit an all-time record month. So if you want to do something incredible, look at what work you're not facing. What are the conversations you're not having with yourself? A lot of us break promises to ourselves. A lot of us are not doing things we know we should be doing. If you can lean into that and just accept it's hard and that's okay, and you do it anyway, life's going to get a lot better for you. I'm a big proponent of self-talk. I know I said I'd stop with the woo-woo, rah-rah stuff, but, well, I'm not done. I was really bad about just really being poor with my internal self-talk. I'm trying to not use profanity and be respectful of the college environment. If you watch my videos, you know that is very much not the case. But I really struggled with talking to myself in a certain way. And I know you've all heard that old quote, you wouldn't talk to your best friend the way you talk to yourself sometimes. It's like, so why do you? No one ever follows that with the, so why am I doing this? Like, why am I just shitting on myself all the time? When I do something silly, that's just silly. Why do I get so angry? Your brain believes every word you tell it. That's another great quote from Dr. Joe Dispenza. So be careful about the words you choose. Talk about who you are. Talk about who you want to be. Speak of yourself in a positive light, and your personality will change, right? It'll change your personal reality. So be careful with your internal talk. This is the quote I'll leave you with, and it's the most simple one, it seems like, and probably the least profound looking, but it's the one I'll never forget. About a year and some change ago, my best friend in the world's dad suddenly got diagnosed with leukemia. Just like I told you earlier, really successful guy, sports psychologist, wrote a book, works with some of the biggest companies in the world, And then he had a health problem, and everything stopped because he had one problem. And he spent 30 days in the bone marrow transplant unit in quarantine. And few people, 2 visitors a day, were allowed to come see him, and he was there for a full month. The only thing he could do was walk a lap around the unit. That's it. He didn't see the light of day for a month. Hard enough as is. 2 weeks in, I go and I sit down with him, and I say, Stan, I'm just curious, what are the most valuable lessons you've learned from this? Have you learned anything at all? And he was like, yeah, 2 things. Number 1, I could have been nicer. I could have been more patient. I could have treated the service worker a little better. I could have asked the cashier how her day was going. I could have been more involved in the human experience, the little things that actually matter a lot. I could have made someone's day better when I made it worse. Second thing, and he's saying this, looking me dead in the eyes, cancer drugs going into his arm. Life is too short to not do exactly what the hell it is that you want to do. The reason that struck me is because he had no idea that for the last month, I had been terrified over this decision I felt like I had to make. My social media was exploding. I knew I could make money doing it. I knew I could make a living literally following my dream. How lucky am I? But I had this incredible, cushy, 6-figure job, working 30 hours a week, making really good money, but it was kind of just sucking the life out of me because I knew I had this thing over here that was giving me all this fulfillment and all this purpose. And I was terrified. I mean, quitting your job to become an entrepreneur is scary as hell. There's no safety net. It's like, what am I going to do? What if I don't make money? How am I going to pay rent? How am I going to eat? All these things constantly toss around my brain, bringing me to the point of tears sometimes. He had no clue. He didn't even know I was on TikTok. So for him to look me in the eyes and say that in that moment, God, universe, whatever you believe, whatever you want to call it, that's what it was for me. Next day, I booked a call with my boss and I said, hey, I quit. I'm done. And of course, he tried to talk me out of it. And I said, with all due respect, I'd rather do this and have it crash and burn and know for certain I tried than look back and be 35 wondering what could have been. And I'll give it over to you guys. Thank you guys for being here and for listening. What's up, man? Thank you. Thank you. What you got?
You mentioned the book Atomic Habits
Yeah.
multiple times.
Yeah.
Is there any one book that you would point directly to outside of that one that you would recommend that we read right now going into sales?
Oh, going into sales? Oh man, there's so many. Atomic Habits I think is fantastic. If you want to change your life and you're a logic-based person, Atomic Habits is fantastic. It's hard to beat. People have mixed emotions on it. I think the 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene is important because I'm a big fan of gamifying life. I think life is a game, corporate America is a game. And 48 Laws of Power teaches you how to navigate that. So I'm not going to give you any sales books because I don't know what her favorite sales books are. She's the right lady to ask for that. But I think if you want to get far, I think the 48 Laws of Power is a good book.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, man, you got it. Thanks for asking the question.
We have a question online.
Oh, yeah.
About balance. And so you talked about the gym and the work and
Yeah.
the social media and all that.
Uh-huh.
And one of the students said, first of all, how do you get over all the challenges that you have in life? Take time for yourself and run your business.
It's sheer chaos all the time. I'm a very disorganized by nature person, and which surprises people when I say that, but I'm actually a dumpster fire at sometimes. And for me, living and dying by a calendar, I've found if I don't budget my day, my physical activity into my day and say, this is my movement, this is what has to happen in my day, let me build my day around my activity, and my activity won't happen. Traditionally, I like to work out earlier in the morning, get it out of the way, get my steps done, get my workout done, because traditionally as our days go on, things just come up. Things just get in the way. And so I know if I can start my day on the right foot, at least I'm more likely to do more things. I call it the locomotion of good choices. If I make a good choice to start the day, so I wake up, go to the gym, hop in the ice bath, start my day. If I can do those, get my controllables out of the way, I know that if the day takes me away from it, it's okay. So start your day with the hard stuff, the things you need to get done, swallow the frog, and find an approach that works for you. One of my favorite quotes is compliance is the science. You're going to see the best results in what you like and can stick to. For me, 3 workouts a week, an hour a workout. Of course, I run 2. There is no best program. There's no best approach. Try things, figure out what fits your schedule, and you'll see the results you're looking for. I hope that answers the question.
Well done.
I saw another hand come up. What's up, brother?
When started recording yourself and making content, did you already know what you wanted to make content about, or did you just set the camera up and see what happened, and eventually something was like posted?
Dude, I still don't know what I want to make content about. You know, someone asked me at a festival, what's your content strategy? And I was like, bold of you to think I have a strategy. There's a reason most of my videos, if you guys check out the pages afterward, are in my car. And it's because I'm literally driving and I go, I feel convicted to talk about this. And I pull over and I record the video, I upload it, and then I forget I ever did it. And I go on my day. So I feel like I'm fortunate. I think it's what God's put me here to do, to talk about this stuff. And I almost feel like a spiritual conviction to talk about these things at time, and they just come to me. So I don't have a strategy or a plan. The only thing that I strategize is that I don't miss a day. So like I know there's a lot of young people in here, maybe you have silent aspirations to be a content creator because it's a really cool way to make a living. The biggest strategy is consistency. Like just show up and do a post every single day. That's the biggest thing. Hopefully that answers your question at least a little bit. Absolutely. Anybody else? We'll start with you in the stripes there.
Do you have any advice for someone that wants to start a business and has so many ideas but doesn't know which one is going to hit?
Yeah.
And they feel really stressed out and behind in life?
What a great question. First, how old are you?
22.
Yeah, you're not behind. You're so not behind, it's not even funny. You're way ahead because you even asked that question. Again, perspective, right? How you look at this stuff is really important. You are not behind. You are doing more than most people your age. So acknowledge that and be proud of it. Action alleviates anxiety. 10 times out of 10, action alleviates anxiety. When I feel anxious generally, I know it's because I'm not doing something I should. So if you feel anxious or stressed because of all these ideas, this is where entrepreneurship gets sticky, is because there is no magic pill or recipe. I've done a lot of things in the last year and a half that didn't work. You know, I just retired a major revenue stream because it wasn't working, and I was scared because I was losing out on money. But I knew it wasn't where I wanted to go. So I just had to retire it. But if I hadn't tried it, I never would have known that it didn't work. So the way that I approach that is, there's an old proverb that the next stone in your path won't reveal itself. I know I'm a big quotes guy. I'm not trying to be Yoda, but like the next stone in your path won't reveal itself to you until you step on the one in front of you. So if you have 10 ideas, how about start with one? Try it. If it flops, great. There are no failures. There's only feedback. Now you know that didn't work. It's time to try number 2. That's just what it is. It's just trial and error, and that's why people often don't do it, because that sounds really scary. But it is unfortunately the truth. I hope that helps. Now, we'll get to you. We got you. You had a question, then we'll get, I think you had your hand up perhaps, but what you got, and then we'll get to you.
You talked about it throughout your presentation, but I just want to ask you, what's the best, not best, but any advice on procrastination?
Talking to a master procrastinator here. What I said earlier about do the hard thing first. You know, your willpower is like a tank, man. Like at the end of the day, I want to train and eat right a lot less than I did 8 hours prior, because I had to make all these decisions. I have to go against it every day. So it's like every morning I wake up, I drink water, I walk, I get in the ice bath. Why? Because that is the shittiest part of my day, pardon my language. I hate that ice bath. But I like starting my day with something difficult, because if I can do that, the rest of the day is a little bit easier. I'm not telling you guys to go out and buy a cold plunge. I like it. But if you're procrastinating, whatever the thing is you're putting off, put it first on your calendar. And then if you can just knock that out, oh my God, dude, the rest of your day is an absolute gravy train. It's so much better.
It's like the saying, pressure makes diamonds.
Yeah, put pressure on yourself. Put it at the top of your list. Give yourself deadlines. I mean, luckily you guys are in school. You have deadlines. So I don't know if it's an assignment you're putting off. You don't have to tell me because she's right there. But yeah, man, put a little pressure on yourself. Put a little pressure on yourself. Good question. What you got?
As an entrepreneur and business runner, do you believe there is such thing as work-life balance, or do you think when you're first starting off that this doesn't exist?
That is such a good question. That is such a good question. If you asked me that question 6 months ago, I would have had a different answer. So here's my take. If you want to do something extraordinary, you have to endure a period of imbalance. There's a season of imbalance. Right now, I'm on ultramarathon prep. I have to run 31 miles in 10 weeks. I'm imbalanced. I'm not going out with my buddies every weekend. I'm not staying up too late. I'm not drinking or anything crazy. Like, I have a goal. But come November, I'm going to loosen up a little bit. So I believe in kind of approaching entrepreneurship in sprints. But I will admit, like, I don't slave away at my computer 15 hours a day. Probably make a lot more money if I did, but I don't want to do that. So I think going in sprints of right now I'm going to lock in and like really say no to everything, be in a season of no. And then once you do that, give yourself a break and do a little bit of everything. I've found that I think you can have your cake and eat it too, if that, to sum it up for you.
Right.
Yeah, but be willing to sprint. at times. What you got?
When I meet a lot of sales guys or people, I guess in this career field,
Mm-hmm.
when do you want to stop? Like the ambition is endless. Like, is there like a peak of the mountain that you want? Like, is it somewhere you want to hit, or you retire, or you chill out, or?
Dude, I'm so glad you asked that question. I'm glad you asked that question because I kind of didn't fully answer your question. I have a friend who's 22 years old and he makes $1.2 million a month. A month. He's 22 years old. He flew. I met up with him in Miami. He was like, I flew here because I'm buying a Rolls Royce Cullinan. And I was like, oh yeah, that's chill. Like whatever. He's like, yeah, I live in Puerto Rico. I was like, okay, man. All right, we get it. Point is, that kid wakes up and he works 15 hours a day every day. The result, he makes $1 million a month. I don't want to be that person. So like to your point, right? What's my peak? There's a point where I can live comfortably, retire, save for my kids' college, and I'm making plenty, right? What's the difference in $300,000 a month and $500,000 a month? I feel like those people can do whatever they want, within reason, both of them. So there is an income that makes everybody happy. The research shows us generally, I think it's around $187,000 a year. People don't report like a whole lot more happiness after that. Maybe that's changed. That's a stat from 2019. This economy's crazy now. But 250 grand a year, like you can kind of do whatever you want within reason. So you just have to find what makes you happy, what allows you to do what you want within reason and fulfill your personal and financial goals. And then that's it. And it's on to the next thing. So that's a good question. I'm glad you asked me that. Hopefully that kind of answers both of y'all's questions. We'll go to you, and then you, and then you.
What were you doing before the whole sales thing?
Mm-hmm.
And why did you get into it?
I was in community college being a bum. I was not doing anything with my life. It was that picture on the left. I was a criminal justice major to undeclared to business. I found a professor that sort of like lit me on fire for business at that community college. Just very fortunate. I just signed up for a class, just happened to be in the right place. And as fate would have it, transferred to KSU and walking through the hallway, and I literally run into a girl I went to high school with. I'm like, oh, hey, long time no see. How you doing? What are you up to? Oh, well, I'm in the sales program. Actually, you should check it out. And she brought me in. I met the professor, and I just fell in love. So it wasn't really this like grandiose plan. I was simply directionless and didn't know what I wanted to do. But through trying things, and in that is another question a lot of young people ask me is like, well, how do I know what to do if I don't even know what I want to do? I just became relentless about self-development. Like I just started to try to make the most out of my body, out of my mind. And in doing that, you kind of start to organically discover your purpose, which at the time was finding the sales program. And I just kind of fell into it. So hopefully that answers your question. And then you in the back?
Yeah, so you mentioned a 60-second elevator pitch.
Mm-hmm.
I came in late, so I might have missed yours, but I'd like to hear it if you haven't already said it.
Oh, she's putting me on the spot. Oh my God. Yeah, so they used to make us do elevator pitches. I'll do that for you in just a second. They used to make us do elevator pitches in the sales program, and I'm sure that if you haven't practiced them already, you will, but they call them a WIFM, a what's in it for me. And when you're telling people about yourself, you don't necessarily tell them about yourself, you tell them about, in a sales situation, what they could do for you. So remember that when you guys do your elevator pitches and job interviews and job fairs. But for me, simply, it would be, my name is Michael Smoke, HigherUp Wellness on social media platforms. I'm a podcaster, content creator, and coach, and my goal is simple. I want to show people that taking ownership of their health is simply a matter of 4 or 5 key decisions that you either are or aren't making every single day. And if you can make those decisions, your entire life will change forever. And that's all I want to do is teach those people just that. So that's very them focused. I want to teach you what I can do for you. I want to teach you that it's 4 or 5 decisions. That makes it digestible, that makes it simple. But I didn't tell you a lot about me. I make content and make videos because nobody cares about me. They care about what I can do for them. So that's my elevator pitch that I just made up on the spot. I hope that met the mark. Thank you. What you got, brother?
When you mentioned your network is your net worth.
Mm-hmm.
So like there have been people that I've met, like how you say you come across people at coffee shops, whatever.
Yeah.
And you get their contact, you got it, but it's like you got to that first base, but how do you go to this base already all the way to home run and build depth to that relationship, or know how to really use that relationship?
Yeah.
What do you keep in mind?
Yeah, don't ever, that's a good question, man, because I've been doing this a lot lately. I've found myself in that situation. I try to never go into a conversation or a networking event like thinking, what can these people do for me? Right, your intention matters. I like to meet people because I like people. I like to get to know people. I'm curious. And I know not everybody is, but for me it's simple. Like I learned this actually from a guy who's a friend now, is don't be afraid to be a little bit bullish. Like there's nothing wrong with asking someone once you meet, hey, you want to go grab a coffee? Like, coffee's super casual. Don't ask them to dinner. That's a little weird. But like daytime stuff, casual. Let's grab a coffee. Like, there's a spot in Buckhead that I go to, Dancing Goats. It's like the spot for the first networking date. Some of you are shaking your heads. Just find like a chill, casual coffee shop. Just ask them if they want to grab coffee. Rule of 3. If they deny you 3 times, it's all right. Sales is about rejection too. Maybe they didn't want to get to know you. That's all right. It's on them. Not everybody's going to be open to it, but anybody with the same mentality that you have, that wants to be like you, that wants to develop, is going to say yes. And then just literally ask them about themselves. Everybody's favorite subject is themselves. Have you ever walked away from a conversation and you're like, I really like that person. I don't know why. It's probably because they didn't talk about themselves much and you talked about yourself the whole time. It's subconscious. It's human nature. So become very inquisitive. Ask them about them because you want to learn about them and for no other reason. Does that answer your question? Cool. Cool. Any others? What you got?
Who do you watch or listen to?
Oh, for what?
What's the question?
In general.
Who do I watch or listen to? Like, where do I get my information from?
Yeah.
Man, a lot of people. I have a core group. It depends on what I'm looking for. If I'm looking for business advice, I love Alex Hormozy. I think he's very common sense. The stuff he says makes sense to me, and he's not afraid to say hard truths. It's the simple stuff. That's where I got a lot of those quotes from. If you want to go to like a resource, the Modern Wisdom podcast, Chris Williamson. When Joe Rogan has on business people, he's a really good interviewer. Like, he asks the questions that I would want to know about that person. If I want to learn about science or fitness or health, I go to the Huberman Lab podcast, or you guys could check out the HigherUp podcast on Spotify and YouTube. But those would be my key sources. And the last fitness one, Dr. Lane Norton. He's pretty darn good at what he does. He's like on the Mount Rushmore of fitness. And then I'll find authors of books. This is a cheat code, by the way. If you don't want to read a ton of paper and you want to cut through the fluff, find the author of the book and go listen to them on a podcast, because they just cliff note. He knows. They just cliff notes their book. Like, you get all the gold. Like, listen to James Clear on a podcast. Listen to Mark Manson on a podcast. Listen to Robert Greene on a podcast, and they cover all the stuff and cut out the fluff. So that's another cheat code that I do as well. I'm a phony. I know. I don't actually read. God forbid. Hopefully that helps. Yeah, man. Cool. What you got, brother? Oh yeah. That means it worked. There's a lot of them in there, but there you go. So yeah, I think Wayne Dwyer said the first one, Aubrey Marcus said the second one, Hormozy said the third, Williamson said the fourth, Mark Manson said the fifth, Stan Beacham said the final. Also, Stan Beacham's book, Elite Minds. It's my best friend's dad. It's a great book about the physiology of flow state and how high performers' brains work when they're in that state. What you got, Luke?
Could you speak to the fifth quote a little bit? I think it's really powerful, and I implemented it a little bit ago. But like, give an example and how to.
Yeah. Before I put that quote on the board, I had a different quote. It was another Hormozy quote, but it was a little too intense. And this came to mind really quickly. The quote's something to the effect of, one day you're going to die, and none of this is going to matter. Everybody's going to forget your name and forget you ever existed. What a shame to live an existence worried about what other people think of you. Oh, and by the way, they probably aren't thinking of you. A lot of times we do things because we're worried about what people are going to think, or we don't do things. I know some of you in here want to be a content creator, or you make videos. What are you scared of? What are they going to think? What am I going to look like? That's what I thought. It's like, it took me 3 months to make my first video. They're like, well, what are my friends going to do? They're going to make fun of me? No. They actually were really supportive, and now it's a big deal. My family, nothing but supportive. You know, who is it? Seneca says we suffer more in our imagination than in reality. So a lot of times the situations that you conjure up in your head is not how it plays out. So the way that I would spin this up is like, seriously, one day we're going to die. And that's hard to conceptualize at our age. I mean, I'm only 4 years older than some of you. I feel 10 feet tall and bulletproof when I go out on Saturdays. Not a good idea. But the point is, like, one day, this is all going to be over. And you're going to be on your deathbed, and all you're going to have is the story, the memories, what you have left behind. And I'm seeing that with family members, as they get to the end of their life and how things change for them and what they wish they did or didn't do. And it's sobering. So I'm not telling you all get to drop out and start drop shipping. But go after what you want. Don't be afraid to chase a dream if you got it. You got a question?
Yeah, I have a quote similar to the fifth one.
What is it?
Life is so short you can't even waste 1 second second, doing what someone thinks you can do versus what you know what you can do.
Yeah, there you go.
And the world creates waves, drown or surfing them.
Yep, that's a good one. I could have added that to the board. That's a really good one. That's solid, man. That's what it comes down to. And one day none of this is gonna matter. Like, have fun. Nobody's getting out alive. What you got?
Similar to I wholesale real estate, so I come across a lot of younger people. I'm 18, but my mentors and all that before I was going to school, they used to tell me cause they were like 21 and 22, making millions of dollars, and they used to tell me about the opportunity costs of going to school and versus I could do this wholesaling. And part of me going to school was just because I had Hope Scholarship and I had military stipend, so I was like, I might as well. So
Yeah,
I paid to be
for
here.
sure.
Could you speak to the opportunity cost? Because I'm sure you come in rooms with even dude you talk to, he's 22, work 15 hours.
Yeah.
And you probably have had those kinds of discussions before.
For sure.
Speak to someone that comes from a collegiate background in the opportunity cost and building your business.
100%, absolutely. I mean, yeah, that kid, good question, by the way, is college worth it? Is basically what he's asking. That kid was a high school dropout. Remember that kid is the 1% of the 1% of the 1%. Statistics matter, right? He's a millionaire in trading, crypto. He's been in this stuff since he was 15. And yeah, it's all real money. He's really doing it, but what you don't see is the failure rate. Like I'm looking at that dude with the Audemars Piguet on his wrist and the Rolls Royce, and he's like, but everybody that does this doesn't do it. Like pretty much everybody. So for me, college was worth it for me, right? I got a sales degree. I believe if you can specialize in something, you can get focused on it, you can be really, really successful. I mean, I love the sales degree because everything is sales, like I said earlier. So yeah, it helps me. I have coaching clients. I've got to sell them on me, right? They've got to agree to give me money in exchange for my services. So I'm in sales for myself still. So in my experience, college was extremely worth it. And I still think generally, on whole, if you look at statistics, which you can't argue with, college graduates make more money, live better lives. You can't argue with that. You're dealing with guys in those situations that live with something called survivorship bias is what that's called. They got through the situation, so they give you a skewed version of reality. But I'm not a betting man, personally, and I know that you guys are all better off. Even if you go off and do your own thing and become an entrepreneur, you're still learning how business works in this school. You're learning sales. You're learning networking. You're learning soft skills that you're going to take in with you into whatever you do, whether it's wholesaling real estate, making TikToks, or trading Dogecoin. It doesn't matter. So that's another thing I want to leave you guys with. This stuff matters, and I know that's rampant in your generation. You got a lot of people telling you, drop out, make internet money. No. Most of those kids are liars. They're renting cars. They're putting up a front. You guys are making the right call, but you get out what you put in. So bust your ass while you're here. Does that answer your question? Cool. Thank you, brother. What you got there in the back?
So you being a content creator, that's one of your main things.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever run into this thing where either before or after you're making your content, do you ever run into the situation of doom scrolling?
Do I? Yeah, the biggest waste of life on the planet Earth, you mean? Yeah, man, that's something y'all need to be careful of. Is like there's a whole world going on around you. Do not get sucked into your phone. I got bad with that. That was one of the conversations I wasn't having with myself. I would have like, oh, I'm working because I'm responding to comments. And I'm like, it's been 2 hours, Michael. You can go outside. So yeah, it's a slippery slope. Like, I mean, we know what social media does to dopamine and how it hijacks our dopamine, and being aware of that is helpful. But like when I get on and I have like 1,000 comments, I'm like, I need to address that. But it also keeps me on my phone. So yeah, doom scrolling is a big problem. And I think it's kind of a silent addiction that people are like scared to talk about because it sounds silly. Like, I don't want to say I'm addicted to my phone. Yeah, it sounds silly, but it's true. Like this thing is freaking, I don't even have it on me because it's somewhere over there. But this thing is wired to keep you dumb. It's like to prevent you from learning, to prevent you from free thinking and going out and, well, I'm not going to put on my tinfoil hat. The point is, budget your time. Like be very aware of your scrolling. That is definitely something I've struggled with. And you just got to like rip it out and go outside. I always tell people like, go touch grass. Go touch grass. Whole big world out there. Thanks for asking, man. I appreciate it. Anybody else before we close out? What you got? Oh, hold on, we got two. I got you, and then you. What you got?
I was just going to ask, what kind of stocks are you invested in right now?
You're going to have to ask the guy that I hired to do that. Because I am many things. A trader is not one of them. So I'm a big believer in buying back your time. If I don't want to learn it, I'm just going to pay you to do it. That's great. So yeah, I'm a bit like S&P 500, traditional stuff, index funds, nothing crazy. But yeah, I'm not your guru for that one, unfortunately. What you got, brother?
I was
Mm.
And there's certain ideas, like how she mentioned, there's certain ideas that you want to get through or execute, but
Yeah.
you don't have the time, sometimes you don't have the skills
Mm-hmm.
set to do that. And you know that if you wanted to put in the time to learn those skills, it would be endless. So like,
Yeah.
how do you work with your network in relationships and building relationships and trust with these people in order to build like teamwork and a potential employee by chance?
Yeah. Another book you asked me earlier, what do I listen to? Great book, great guy to listen to, Dan Martell, book called Buy Back Your Time. Basically, his belief system is if you can make more money doing the thing than it costs you to buy or outsource it, outsource it. So there are certain things in my life that I pay for. I'm partnered with a meal prep company now, but before that, I was buying their meals and I was paying like a sizable chunk for food to be delivered to my house. But what I was doing was buying back my time because I got like an hour and a half a day back. And when you're a business owner, you're an entrepreneur, that's the one asset you can never make more of is your time. It's only getting less. It's only going down. So any way I can pay, I have an assistant that I work with, an assistant coach that I pay to do a lot of things for me and offload those tasks. So that's built, again, man, just through networking and building trust with people, being a good reader. I got in a tight situation with a business partner once. It got legal. It got hairy. And that was because I was under the impression that like everybody has the same intentions as me. That's not true. So be skeptical, ask the right questions, trust your gut. I didn't. I lost a lot of money as a result. So overall, trust your gut, trust your intuition. And if you can find things in your life that you can go out and maybe create more value and create more money as a result of not doing the thing, that's the way that I view my time. So I outsource anything that I think I can do better when it's time spent elsewhere.
When you were trying to build your relationships with those people, like the guy that you said did throw you under the bus like that.
Yeah.
And like trying to build your connections with these people, certain people outside of college. Did you ever feel vulnerable at certain points?
Yeah.
How
Yeah,
did you
man.
get over that vulnerability?
Yeah, that's just part of the game. Like you're just at 23 to 28, you're just in a building phase. You're going to make mistakes, right? If that guy hadn't done what he had done to me, I never would have learned that lesson. And I'll never do that again. I could have been told a million times not to do the things I did. No, it's not the same lesson. I had to do it, had to have it happen to me so that I would know never to do it again. So yeah, you're going to put yourself out there. It's going to be vulnerable. Sometimes you're going to get burned. Sometimes it's going to feel embarrassing. But it doesn't matter. Like life-changing doors don't open themselves. You have to kick them open. And that's going to require putting yourself in uncomfortable situations sometimes. So if you're willing to do that, if you're willing to put yourself in that situation, you might be embarrassed, but you also might be blown away at what becomes a byproduct. So I say all that to say, in short, you just got to get over it and do it anyway.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Natalia.
Hi, Natalia.
So looking at your program U10, did this develop from the idea, the 10X rule? Are you aware of that? And if you don't mind sharing a little bit about that.
I am aware of the 10X rule vaguely. I'm not an expert on it, so no, it didn't develop from the 10X rule. Could you enlighten us on the 10X rule?
Well, I heard it from Jasmine Starr. She also does her podcast.
Uh-huh.
So it's like amplifying your efforts, your persistence to achieve your goal. So it's like it's like 10Xing yourself.
Yeah.
Maximizing your belief that you can achieve this goal.
Yeah.
So it just reminded me of that. So I was wondering.
Very similar framework. Very similar framework. People make jokes. They're like, I feel like I'm gaslighting myself into my goals. I'm like, that's kind of what you are doing, right? Like you're kind of just telling yourself you can do it and then putting the systems in place to do it by 10Xing yourself or envisioning you 10.0. So yeah, it is to a degree almost the exact same thing. That's a good catch. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Cool. Anybody else to close out? We got a couple more. Are we good on time? Do we have time?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I'm taking 2.
All right. I saw your hand first, then we'll go back to you, and then we'll go to you, Christian.
Yeah, what was that book called again?
Buy Back Your Time. Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell.
Okay, cool.
Yep. Ma'am?
How important is it for you to have like multiple streams of income as a content creator and like also an entrepreneur? Because I noticed that you post on TikTok and Instagram and like you have your podcast, right?
Yeah.
So like, is your content like, do you post the same things on both platforms, or like, do you have, I guess, different things you only say for TikTok and then different things for Instagram? Because I do Snapchat as a living. Like I'm a content creator on the platform and I'm trying to like expand to new platforms.
Yeah.
Just to like diversify like what I'm doing. But I find it like hard to like gear my audience over to a new platform. But I know it's important to like not just depend on the one platform in case things change.
For sure. I know how hard the Snapchat content creator thing is. You got to spam that thing. I know how difficult that can be.
It's so exhausting because
Yeah.
like when you're talking about the phone addiction, like I'm in the stories program, I'm also in the spotlight program, and it's like I'm yapping all day like on
Yeah.
my stories. Or,
Tough.
I'm influencers, and it's great and it's fun to interact with my audience, but also like I don't want to be on my phone all day, and sometimes I feel like I can't even live in the present moment because I'm like so busy updating people online.
I think to a degree you need to get focused about where you want to go. Like every millionaire, billionaire, successful business owner I've ever heard say this, not necessarily met, but a few that I have met, that kid that I alluded to earlier are believers in like, if you want to build, the example he uses, if you want to make $100,000 a month, do not try to make $10,000 a month doing 10 different things. Get really good at one thing. Master it. Like become relentlessly good at it. Now, I have multiple streams of income just as an organic byproduct of partnerships and different platforms, but I'm focused on my coaching. Like that's the thing that I'm building and scaling and doing well. Everything else is supplemental. So it's important, yeah. Sometimes one drops off, sometimes one is lower. I would say if Snapchat's just stressing you out or it's starting to get to the point where it's diminishing your quality of life, like you're in a position where we should have pretty great quality of lives as content creators as a job, right? So my advice would be pick a platform and then cross post. Don't do too many. Like I was trying to do TikTok, LinkedIn, Snap, Instagram. This is ridiculous. Now I just do, it's way too much. So I do a TikTok and this is content specific. I'm sorry, some of you guys are falling asleep, but this is TikTok specific. So like I'll post the TikTok, take the watermark off, and then post the same thing to Instagram. That's basically 2 for 1, right? And those are totally different audiences for the most part, at least like 80%. So that's my advice. I would start posting on TikTok probably first because they've got the creativity program that can pay you and pay you well if you go viral. I would recommend that. I think it's better for growth too. Assuming they don't get rid of it, please God, don't. Does that help?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, great. Christian, you were somewhere? What you got?
So I have a statement after this, but I guess sales question for sure.
Uh-oh.
It would be, because you just mentioned right now, like get really good at that one thing. When you started in sales, what was the one? Because there's so many things, right? I mean, we're all starting in sales. Me and Luke are as well. There's negotiations, there's cold calling, there's all these other things that play a role to be successful in sales. But what was the one thing that you kind of like, I want to be really good at this to kind of start your jumpstart your career in sales? Does that make sense?
80-20 rule. 80% of the time you're listening, 20% of the time you're talking. The best salespeople in the world listen more than they talk. 2 ears, 1 mouth, use them accordingly, right? It's all about your questions. You should be guiding the conversation through your questioning strategies. A lot of sales reps I would shadow would like talk the whole time and they would be shocked why they didn't get the business. It's like, well, the prospect couldn't get a word in edgewise. You shut up and listen. That's what you do. So for me, it was becoming, it's called active listening for a reason because you have to engage in it and it's hard sometimes. But showing them you're listening, looking them in the eyes, asking mostly questions, that was the thing that I knew if I could get really good at it. Because when you do that, you get really, really deep on their pain, which is what creates the sale, right? No pain, no sale. You can really fulfill that pain and close that gap, and you build trust because they're talking about themselves the whole time. So if you can get that down, and then I'll add a bonus one, the one that's the hardest for people, I think, asking for the sale, asking for the close. Would you like to go ahead? Like, what do you want to do now? A lot of people are scared to be like, you don't ever say it this way, but sign here. You have to ask for the business, right? That's one of the things you have to do. You practice in these role plays is, would you like to go ahead? Or why don't we go ahead? That's called an embedded command. One of the things I ask my prospects, we get to the point, they're 100% confident, they're ready to go, and I go, all right, John, what would you like to do now? And they know. Well, I'd like to go ahead. Okay, are you sure? Great. All right, congratulations. You made a great choice. Here's what happens next. So for me, questioning and then asking for the sale, for sure, because it's uncomfortable.
I guess the other thing I was going to say, of course, obviously he's here, did a great presentation for us, but I'm sure some of you guys are probably wondering, how did he get here? Who brought him here? So not to brag a little bit either, right?
No. Brag a lot. Brag a lot. Brag a lot.
Either, right? But this has been like 6 months in the making. So one thing he just mentioned literally right now was ask for the sale, ask for that. But you do it by doing it. So all I did was pretty much saw him on Instagram, saw him on TikTok. He posted one video, a video that just applied to me, applied to my school, what I want to do in life in sales, and I was just like, you know what, I'm just go to his Instagram. He had 100,000 followers already, 200,000, something like that. And so he had on his bio said, DM me for a coaching call. And I was like, dude, I'm gonna just do it. Why not? And so I went ahead, I texted him, we had our call, and then of course me and Luke already had the sales club, and I was like, would you be interested in coming and talk to us? I was pretty much asked for the sale. And so yeah, he was open to it, but it wouldn't have happened if I didn't ask for the sale. If I didn't do that thing. So if you guys have a content creator or like somebody that you guys listen to, or just anybody that you guys kind of envision, you kind of want to be in the future or just learn about, text that person. So of course we use LinkedIn. Text that person on LinkedIn. Text the recruiter. Text, because you never know. You know, you're not gonna know until you try. Obviously.
Without a doubt, dude. I'm glad you brought that up. It's like I said earlier, life-changing doors don't open themselves. You got to kick them open. And he gave with such good salesmanship, he baited and switched me. I was like, I'm gonna get this guy on coaching, and he was like, well, I don't think we're a fit for coaching. I think it's a little out of my budget, but I got something for you. And it was like, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, sure. I always say I'm a salesman. I'm the easiest sell ever. But this is what I want to do. Like I want to do this. I want to be in rooms with people like you talking about this stuff. It's what I feel like I'm put here to do. So thank you for having the gall to do that. And if you guys have someone that you want to do that for, you have a mentor you'd like to reach out to, someone you don't know, you have no idea. Like I've reached out to mentors and they're like, oh my God, I'd love to do that. It's like, oh wow, I thought you'd tell me to kick rocks. So like, don't be afraid to seize an opportunity like Christian did, because I would not be here. So thank you for giving me the opportunity. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for that. So good lesson. Yes, ma'am.
Off topic. Are you wearing 2 watches?
Classic question. No, so this is a watch, obviously. This is called a Whoop. It's a sleep tracker. So it's got a little data. Oh, it's dead. It's a sleep tracker. So it tracks my deep sleep, my REM sleep. I'm a big data guy. So I like keeping up with that. It's just a health metric for me.
One more question. Choose that over the Apple Watch?
I actually wear a Garmin and a Whoop because this is, not to get too in the weeds, this is low EMF, but it's also comfortable. Like sleeping with the Apple Watch is like kind of bulky and heavy. So I wear this because it's super low profile. Yeah, man.
Everyone, give Mike Smoke a round of
Thank you guys. Thank you so much. Thank you. Appreciate you guys.